Hi everyone. I hope you all are doing great. Today we are going to have a wonderful project, and this project is going to help us understand the concept of init containers in Kubernetes. So, what is exactly init containers? Using init containers in Kubernetes, it's an excellent way to perform setup tasks before the main container in pod starts running. What exactly I mean by this? So, suppose you want to do some pre-checks or you want to run some pre-scripts and then you want to start your pods, then init container will be useful. Like example, before starting a pod, you want to check the system resources. You want to see enough memory is available in the system, enough disk is available in the system. Then you will write a init script which will run before the pods are coming up. It does the pre-checks, and if everything is fine, then your pod will be started. So in our code, in this scenario, we'll run a custom Python script inside an init container to modify or create a file that the main container requires at runtime. So what is objective for this project? We'll create a Kubernetes pod with a init container that runs a Python script to modify the file or create a file that the main container will later use. A main container is a Nginx or Python app container that uses the modified file at runtime. So first one script I am having, setting up a Python script using init script.py, and this script is simply writing a message into a file. That file name is config.txt in the directory /data. Second, defining Kubernetes YML with init container, and then let us define the Kubernetes manifest to deploy the pod with an init container and the main container. And how exactly the YML would look like, I will explain you about that as well. So first will be init container, and then you will have the main container, and key components will be init container, then your Nginx main container, and apart from that, we'll create a config map to mount these Python scripts, and after that we'll apply our Kubernetes resources, and then we'll verify our pod and we'll verify the logs of pod, and we can then use our Nginx web server and we can see the message which we are typing. So now let us go to first step and understand our Python script. So in Python scripts, I am defining file path as data config text. In the message, I am just writing a custom message. This is modified configuration file created by init container. So this is the message which we are typing. So this is the modified configuration file created by init container, and just I am adding a line DEVOPS-TECHSTACK project, and just I am saving this file and then write the message to the file. So we are opening this file and then we are writing the message into the file, and then we are printing the printing this. So printing the message that file has been created successfully. So this is only 3 line of scripts that I am saving it. Now for this purpose, you need a config map where this Python script needs to be mounted. So what I am doing, I am creating a config map, and then its name is Python init script config, and then I am writing in the data section init script.py and your Python script here. So this is a config map. Now this config map needs to be mounted inside your main container. So let us see how it will look like. So I am just creating a pod instead of deployment. So first API version is v1, kind is pod, metadata is Python init container pod. This is the name which we have given. And in the spec sections, we are mounting the volume. So volume we are mounting is shared data, and then we have init containers here. In the init container name, image is Python because you have to run the Python scripts, and command will be /script/init script.py. So this will run the Python script. And in the volume mount, we are mounting one volume called shared app and data, and the mount path is /data, and one volume is script volume and the mount path is /scripts. And then we have our main containers. In the main container, we have Nginx container and the image is Nginx Alpine image. And in the volume mount, we have share data and the mount path is user share Nginx HTML config.txt and subpath is config.txt. And in the volume, in the share data is the empty one, and in the script volume, here you see I am mounting our config map. So this is our pod which is mounting the config map inside the pod. And config map you already understood. So now let us create our config map and we'll see how it is working. So first we have to create our config map. So first I am doing Python init script config.yml. So I created the config map. Now create our pod. So pod with init container.yml. And here we got one problem. Cannot be handled as pod unknown field volumes. Let us check what is the error here. So if you go to pod and then okay, it can be okay. Let us save it and let us try to reapply it again and see what was the problem. So now you see our pod is created. Let us verify that pods are fine or not. So qctl get po and you can see your Python init script pod is running. And then you have created a config map, short form is CM, and you see your Python init script config map is there. And Nginx by default is running on pod 8080. So let us port forward to open it in the web browser. So 8080 is mapping to port 80. Just I am doing the port forward. And then you can go to this path and you can see if your message is getting printed or not. So if you refresh the page, you can see this is working. If you want to see in a separate tab, let us run it in the separate tab and see. So here you see this is the modified configuration file created by Init Container DEVOPS-TECHSTACK. So what exactly we learn by this project? First thing we learn that what is Init Container and why Init containers are needed. And the next thing we learn how to create the init containers along with the main containers and how the scripts we are mounting using the concepts of config map and then volume mounts and volumes we are mounting the particular path. So I hope you guys are quite clear with the concepts. If you have any doubts, you can put the message in the comment sections. Thank you so much guys for giving your valuable time.